Welcome back to Scaleup Stories, the show where we unpack the real challenges behind growing a company, building a team, and staying sane while doing it. I'm your host, Scaleup, and today we're talking about something that almost every founder experiences, but very few people name correctly.
Thank you, Scaleup. I'm really glad we're talking about this because decision fatigue is one of those hidden problems that people confuse with poor leadership, when in reality, it's often a system problem wearing a psychological mask.
That's such a good way to frame it, a system problem wearing a psychological mask. Let's start simple. When we say decision fatigue, what are we actually talking about?
At its core, decision fatigue is the decline in judgment quality after making too many decisions over a period of time. The brain has limits. Every choice consumes cognitive energy, even small ones. Founders stack them all day long. And the more decisions they make without structure, the more mental depletion builds. That depletion shows up as procrastination, impulsive choices, avoidance, endless revisiting, or defaulting to whatever feels easiest.
So the founder says, I'm stuck, but the real issue is, my brain is overloaded.
Exactly. And overload is dangerous because it feels normal when you're scaling. People almost brag about it. I had 47 calls today. I made 100 decisions. Everything depends on me. That sounds like leadership, but often it means the business has become too dependent on one nervous system.
That line is powerful, too dependent on one nervous system, because I think a lot of founders build companies where all roads lead back to them.
Yes, and at first, that can feel efficient. In the early stage, it often is. Speed comes from founder involvement, but as the company grows, the same habit becomes a bottleneck. If every meaningful choice requires founder approval, the founder becomes cognitively exhausted and the company slows down. It becomes a loop.
And then people describe the problem as execution is slow, when really the decision architecture is broken.
Yes, slow execution is often the visible symptom. Broken decision design is the cause.
Let's talk about the founder experience. What does decision fatigue actually look like in real life? Because I think a lot of listeners are in it but don't recognize it.
It usually doesn't look dramatic. It looks like opening Slack, then email, then your CRM, then going back to Slack because something feels urgent. It looks like asking for more data when you already have enough to make a call. It also looks like inconsistent leadership. That inconsistency creates confusion across the company.
That hits hard. And I think one of the most frustrating parts is that founders often blame themselves morally. They say, why can't I focus? Why am I indecisive? Why am I tired even when I'm productive?
Absolutely. They make it about character instead of capacity. Your brain is not designed for infinite context switching. If you have 10 tabs open in your mind all day, you're not weak. You're overloaded. The danger is when overload becomes identity. A founder starts believing, this is just who I am now. But often, what they need is not more motivation. They need fewer unnecessary decisions.
That's the key distinction. Not be stronger, but design better. So let's get into the mechanics. What kinds of decisions drain founders the most?
There are 3 categories that create the biggest drag. First, trivial recurring decisions. Second, ambiguous strategic decisions. Third, emotionally loaded decisions. Each of these categories consumes cognitive energy in different ways, but together they result in major fatigue.
So the worst case is when a founder's day is packed with small administrative decisions, and then they try to make major strategic calls in the same depleted state.
Exactly. That's when you get expensive hesitation. And expensive hesitation is one of the least discussed costs in business. Delayed decisions can be just as damaging as bad ones. A hire made too late, a product issue unaddressed, or a pricing change postponed can all have serious consequences.
Let's stay on that, because slow execution is often treated as an operations problem, maybe a project management issue, maybe a team issue. But you're saying it can begin at the top as cognitive congestion.
Yes. If the founder is mentally congested, the company feels it everywhere. Priorities become blurry. Teams keep shifting direction. People hesitate because they don't know which version of the founder they're getting: decisive, doubtful, excited, or overwhelmed. Effort and clarity are not the same thing.
Now let's move toward solutions. If decision fatigue is the silent killer, what's the antidote?
The antidote is systemized decision-making, not robotic thinking, but creating repeatable structures for how decisions get made, who makes them, when they get escalated, and what standards are used. Good systems protect agility by preserving mental energy for the decisions that truly matter.
So instead of asking the founder to become a superhuman, we reduce the number of decisions that require founder-level attention.
Exactly. The goal is not make better decisions through willpower. The goal is stop spending premium brainpower on low-value choices. Start with a decision audit. For 1 week, track the decisions that hit you repeatedly, then sort them into 4 buckets: eliminate, automate, delegate, reserve.
That's huge. A decision audit sounds simple, but I can imagine it being eye-opening. Let's go one by one. What does eliminate look like?
Eliminate means removing fake decisions, things you keep reconsidering that should already be standardized. For example, if every small customer discount needs your opinion, that's an absent policy. A lot of mental exhaustion comes from repeatedly deciding what should have become default.
And automate?
Automate is where you create if-then logic. If a refund request is under a certain threshold, do this. If content meets these standards, it ships without your review. Sometimes it just means documented rules. A written playbook can save enormous cognitive energy.
Then delegate, which is where many founders struggle emotionally.
Yes, because delegation is not just operational, it's psychological. Founders often equate control with safety. If everything comes back to you, you are training the company to be fragile. Delegation needs guardrails, clear standards, decision rights, escalation triggers, and review cadences.
And finally, reserve. The decisions only the founder should make.
Right. This is where the founder's best thinking belongs. Vision, culture-defining calls, capital allocation, senior leadership choices, strategic sequencing, big market bets. Those deserve your freshest mind.
I want to talk about timing too, because not all decisions should be made at random moments.
Exactly. One of the best tools for reducing fatigue is decision scheduling. Cluster similar decisions. Have a hiring block, a finance block, a product review block. Protect specific hours for high cognition work. Fragmentation is exhausting. Context switching creates cognitive residue.
Let's address the emotional layer, because sometimes the reason founders delay decisions is not lack of information, it's fear.
Absolutely. Sometimes I need more time really means I don't want to feel the consequence of this decision. Decision fatigue isn't purely cognitive. It's often emotional overload disguised as analysis. Systemization matters because it reduces the emotional theater around routine choices.
That is such an important point. Sometimes founders are not confused, they're avoiding discomfort.
Yes, and avoidance creates backlog. Backlog creates stress. Stress reduces clarity. Reduced clarity creates more avoidance. Again, it becomes a loop.
So how does a founder know whether they're genuinely thinking carefully or just stuck in fatigue?
A few signs. If you keep reopening the same issue without adding new insight, that's fatigue. If every option feels equally heavy, that's fatigue. If you're asking more people for input but feeling less clear, that's often fatigue. If simple decisions start feeling emotionally expensive, that's fatigue too. Careful thinking usually creates sharper questions. Fatigue creates noise.
Beautiful distinction. Careful thinking sharpens. Fatigue fogs. Before we close, I want to make this very practical. Can you give founders a short reset protocol? Something they can start using this week?
Absolutely. First, stop deciding in chaos. Second, list open loops. Third, classify them, eliminate, automate, delegate, reserve. Fourth, protect your best cognitive window. Fifth, create default rules for recurring issues. Sixth, reduce channels. Seventh, train your team with principles, not dependency. And maybe the most important, stop equating exhaustion with importance.
That's so good. Stop equating exhaustion with importance.
Because many founders secretly believe that if they are no longer overwhelmed, maybe they're not leading hard enough. But the real sign of maturity is not carrying more decisions, it's designing a company that can make good decisions without crushing the people inside it.
That's the lesson right there. Decision fatigue doesn't just hurt the founder. It distorts culture, slows execution, weakens teams, and quietly taxes growth. And the solution is not simply rest, though rest matters. The solution is building a smarter decision environment. Liliana, this has been excellent. Thank you for bringing both the psychology and the business lens to this conversation.
Thank you, Seiko. This was such a meaningful topic.
And to everyone listening, if you've been feeling mentally overloaded, if your company feels slower than it should, if you keep telling yourself you just need to push harder, maybe pause and ask a better question. Am I tired because growth is hard, or because my decision system is broken? That question alone might change how you lead. If you enjoyed this episode of Scaleup Stories, share it with a founder, operator, or team leader who needs to hear it. And if this topic hit home, take 20 minutes today and run your own decision audit. You may discover that the bottleneck isn't time, it's unstructured thinking. I'm Seiko, this is Scaleup Stories, and we'll see you in the next episode.